In a second, I'm going to show you a memo that a CNN employee sent me with the latest update for their COVID-19 vaccination requirements. I had Ryan Christian of The Last American Vagabond on talking about a whole lot of things. If you want to see the entire chat, check out the links in the description for my other platforms, the only places that it is available in its entirety. But we did discuss the CNN memo. That said, I did have somebody on my locals community, and shout out to locals, alicetomorrow.locals.com. Great place to send me story ideas. Far more likely to see them there than the YouTube comment section. But essentially, I wanted to add this to the beginning of this video before we get to my chat with Ryan, because this shows that no matter how these mainstream outlets are covering this issue of requirements for employees to come back to work, and share their vaccine history, that a lot of them are moving in the same direction for their own company policy. And, this article basically saying that Fox, CNN, and MSNBC, all of this same or similar policies. Again, the CNN memo we're going to talk about an escalation, because though several months ago you were required to be vaccinated to come back to work, it was an honor system. So they weren't requiring people to share their vaccination history. Now they are going to be requiring it to be entered into an office database. And it appears Fox Corp is requiring the same thing. They're saying that Ryan Grimm got an internal memo, and you can see it here, that fully vaccinated employees who have uploaded their vaccination status into Work Day, they will then be provided a Fox Clear Pass and allowed to complete a self-screening process on their own each day before reporting to work. But, sorry, I got to lean over here. But that this shows unvaccinated employees must continue to comply with all Fox's COVID-19 prevention guidelines, social distancing, mask wearing at work unless an exception applies. And also that if you will not enter your vaccination information into Workday, that you will be considered unvaccinated. So it does appear that you can go into a Fox office without being vaccinated. At CNN, you have to be vaccinated. It just looks like you have to do other things like wear a mask and social distance if you're at Fox. If you go back to this article, it also says that NBC Universal is currently on a voluntary return to work setup. To return to the office, employees must be fully vaccinated. I don't know if they're requiring them to enter that into some kind of database. It just says that they have to be fully vaccinated. Anyway, I just wanted to share that because I think it adds a little bit of context. But without further ado, here is Ryan Christian of The Last American Vagabond. The CNN CEO, Jeff Zucker. So here we go. He's telling them a few months ago that, hey, we're going to go back into the building, but you have to, let me go back here. We're going to go back into the building for work, but you have to get the vaccine, but it's the honor system. And now it's basically you have to use this passport system and say that you got the vaccine and tell them, which is weird because when I was originally talking to an attorney about when you're talking about, like it's YouTube operating under this gray legal area. And so they're just being very careful about what they do so that they can't be sued later. That's what we thought CNN was doing. Like, you need to be vaccinated, but you're on the honor system, basically right. For these US properties. But now it's no, you have to use this system. So here it says you will be required to confirm your vaccination status via pass card when you enter any of our buildings. I'm just going to read just a couple paragraphs out of it. Most importantly, COVID-19 vaccines will be required to return to the office in the U.S. You will need to be fully vaccinated upon return to work, which means 2 weeks past your final shot. Policy will play an important part in contributing to a safer work environment, and that is our priority. This means that everyone who comes to a CNN floor, a CNN office, or our satellite facilities, or if you are accompanying a CNN employee in the field, so even outside, you will need to be fully vaccinated.
That means janitors, everybody.
Yeah, everybody.
That's crazy.
Yep. For those who are not CNN employees but interact with us, such as our security, properties, and engineering colleagues, they will also need to be fully vaccinated to enter a CNN floor workspace. Management teams are fully aware of this requirement and are informing them as well. This will ensure that our floors and office spaces will only have vaccinated people using them. But like I said, it's not so much that that's the policy of being vaccinated is the difference. It's that it's the proof of vaccination
Right.
that they're changing. So now you actually and it's just weird because, like I said, this lawyer thought that originally just the honor code was in order to prevent them from being sued for forcing people to share their medical status, but it appears, I don't know if they've worked around that or they're just not scared or what, but I'm just curious what you think about this.
Well, the first thing that came to my mind was, and I've been saying this for a long time. I mean, the injection part of this is obviously a huge part of it. It's obviously clearly its own agenda, but I think it's in part a means to an end to the infrastructure that's being built around the world. They're telling you they're building, right? And what do you need for that? You need this passport. You need to be able to check I'm healthy, right? I have a good credit score or whatever it is, social credit. So this, in a way, almost kind of it reveals that. Because if it's all about just getting you to go through the motions and say, yeah, I got it, let me check in. So it's that way you think you're skirting it by lying, but really maybe their objective is just to get you to go through the motions of passports and showing you have it and saying you have it and going, and maybe it'll come back around and bite you later when they go, oh, well, now we're going to prove that. And if you've been lying this whole time, you're in trouble. You know, whatever it is. I think the first step is to get you comfortable with claiming I have this or I don't in order to access things that you should otherwise have access to. That's scary to me. This is a huge escalation. And remember when this was fake news? Remember when everybody laughed at how dumb this was? And they're never going to do that. That's crazy and unconstitutional. And now they're all screaming how we're crazy for not accepting it.
Well, and the only reason that I have this is because I have moles at CNN who are facing potentially the loss of their job over this. And I know one person in particular who's written me has medical reasons for not being able to get this vaccine, that his own doctor, who's a pro-COVID vaccine, guy, still says, you are at risk with these medical issues that you have. And, this person happens to be freelance, which a lot of staff are these days in these network newsrooms, because that's how they don't have to pay benefits and can keep your wage down. And so basically, even though they said, no, we're going to work with you, management's going to work with you, these people are probably going to get fired. Or they're just going to get like 8 hours a week or something. Because basically, they've been able to work remote, but now it's like, well, now you can't. You got to come into the office, but if you're not vaccinated, you can't do it. So it's, well, sorry, that's your choice. Well, wait a second. It's, even the person who's like, say there's the person who says, I would like to get it, but I'm literally medically cannot get it. CNN's like, sorry. And I know that's happening because people are writing me. Okay,
well, there's two very important things that they will not talk about. What about natural immunity? What about the fact that every single authority, I mean, the NIH, Nature, one of the most important science publications out there, or the WHO, they've all come out and blatantly stated that upwards of 99% of people who had natural infection have lasting immunity, possibly for the rest of their lives. So what are we talking about here? Like, this is it's alarming that that's not something that we're considering. Now, on top of that, what about the fact that this is still experimental, according to their own they call it investigational, right on the Moderna website. The FDA website says investigational is the same word for experimental. The NIH called it experimental. Okay. On top of that, it's unapproved, right? There's no legal standing, in my opinion, based on the Constitution and regardless of past rulings that went against that Constitution, that make it very clear that regardless of whether it's experimental or unapproved, they still shouldn't be able to force it on you legally. But taking into consideration that it is experimental and unapproved, how are we even arguing that this is acceptable?
If you like wine and you dislike censorship, check out AllisonWinePromo.com. Allison with 1L winepromo.com. You get 50% off of some of my favorite Argentinian Malbecs, one from the third highest vineyard in the entire world, and 50% off shipping. And you support my channel through demonetization and suspension. So check out AllisonWinePromo.com, Allison with 1L winepromo.com.